Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, staff writer Zach Everson. Zach, thanks for hopping on once again.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
The last time we talked, you reported that Donald Trump could have issues selling booze at his different establishments around the country. Now you have an update, and this all comes after Donald Trump was convicted on 34 felony charges in New York. So before we get into what the update is, can you talk to us about why his ability to sell booze might be in jeopardy?
Of course. So he has businesses that sell liquor, be it golf clubs, restaurants, hotels, private resorts in 8 different states. And all of those states have some sort of variation of a law saying that people who have liquor licenses need to be of good moral character. Some places get a little bit more specific, where they say if you've been convicted of a felony, you are excluded from having such a liquor license. I mean, there's some discretion involved with the local ABC, but it did, if these jurisdictions wanted to pursue going after Trump's liquor licenses because of those, conviction on 34 felony counts, this would certainly give them grounds to do so.
So you reported this story. The next day, the Trump organization responded. What did they say?
They said President Trump is not the holder of any liquor license in New Jersey or any other state. He's not an officer or director of any entity that holds a liquor license, which appears to be true. But there's a huge caveat there in that he is the beneficial owner of all three of his liquor licenses of the companies that have his liquor licenses in New Jersey, which are the three that are under investigation by that state's Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, as well as those in all of the other states. It's set up through a whole chain of different companies, but at the end of the day, he is the beneficial owner of all of those businesses.
So this is the question you most recently posed for Forbes: liquor license loophole or another Trump tall tale. So talk a little bit about the workaround he believes he has, and then dive into that flowchart you made for Forbes, because you have an indirect but equally direct line to Donald Trump.
So Donald Trump is the beneficiary owner of the golf courses, all of the properties that we've looked at in these 8 states, specifically looking at New Jersey, though, since that's where the government has said they are under investigation. You can piece this together from his personal financial disclosures, which he has submitted and signed, sworn testimony he gave in the New York Attorney General's case, and his liquor licenses. So, for example, you've got Trump Bedminster Golf Course, and then it's owned by an LLC. That LLC is entirely owned by another LLC, which in turn is owned by two other companies, which are owned by two different companies. It all comes back at the bottom, though, to the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust. And that is what he testified, that he is the sole beneficiary of that trust. He is the sole person who has put assets in there. So that really gives these state and local governments the opportunity to say, yes, these licenses are in fact held by Donald Trump, who is a convicted felon. We're going to make a move on trying to take these away from him.
So just for clarity, all roads lead back essentially to the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust. So that means that all roads lead back to Donald J. Trump.
Exactly. Now, we don't know if that, because it's in a trust, is that going to provide the legal loophole that he needs? That depends on the interpretation, and we're dealing with multiple jurisdictions here. You've got state liquor boards. In some places, it's up to a county or a city to make that determination. So we don't know exactly how they're going to make that determination. Politics may certainly get involved, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to go against Donald Trump. As we mentioned last time, when he had the hotel in Washington, D.C., there was a group that came after his liquor license then for not meeting a good character requirement. Now, at the time, he had not been convicted of a felony, but D.C., obviously a very liberal city. The first time the challenge was presented, the ABC board punted on it, saying this is not the right time to do it. It needs to come up when the license is up for renewal. Then when the license came up for renewal, they again skirted ruling on the merits of the issue and saying, the people who filed this complaint are largely not from D.C. They don't have standing to do this. And they kicked it out again. So, not a slam dunk that if these are happening in Democratic jurisdictions that they're going to hurt him necessarily.
So the flowchart you described previously was for the Bedminster Club. Donald Trump has other clubs in New Jersey, across the country. He has hotels, a winery, other establishments. Are they all organized in a similar way where the roads lead back to the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust?
Yeah, and the path is different. They're all different LLCs that are involved, although some of them do overlap a little bit. But if you look at the name, if you go back and pull any of those liquor licenses, like I did, and you look at the companies on those liquor licenses, and then you go back and look through the personal financial disclosure that he filed last year as part of his run for presidency, it lists all the names of those companies, and it shows which companies own which other companies, and you can then piece it together, and you will see that they all come back to the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust, which he testified he is the sole beneficiary of, and he is the sole person to have put assets into that trust.
I am curious if the New Jersey Attorney General has responded to this at all.
I'm curious as well. I reached out before I published this second article after they'd earlier acknowledged that they were looking into it. They said there was no update to provide at this time as well. I continue to check to see if they've updated the online liquor licenses, seeing if there's anything there. I've also reached out sporadically. It's one of those issues. I don't know how long it might take. It's something that they could reach very quickly. It's something that they might also just want to wait to not have to rule on at all and hope that the media attention dies down. It won't. I have a reminder to keep following up on this issue.
And the Trump Organization responded to your original story. Now with this update, have they responded to that?
They have not responded to me. I mean, they didn't respond to me the first time. The responses came, we broke this story, and then a lot of outlets picked it up as well. And at that point, the Trump Organization responded. Eric Trump parroted that response on Twitter. And I reached out again before publishing this story, and it did not hear a response from either the campaign or the Trump Organization.
So I know you just said that you have your alerts on, you're keeping an eye out for this story. What are you looking out for next?
Looking to see if a decision has been made. If they're holding any hearings on the matter, I would imagine it's something that they probably can't just do right away. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved in these kind of decisions. New Jersey, famously bureaucratic. So we'll see there. I'm also paying attention to the other jurisdictions to see if any of those other states are reviewing his liquor licenses as well. When I wrote the original story, I reached out to all of those areas, and some of them said, he's not listed here, and I pointed out, oh no, he is, this is a company that is in his trust that he owns. And I didn't hear back from those places afterwards. So I don't know if they just dropped the issue, if they didn't care, like California, because he wasn't listed as a trustee, or if maybe they still are looking into it. They never got back to me on that. So I'm continuing to monitor the liquor licenses in all of those other areas as well.
Aside from Donald Trump's liquor licenses potentially being revoked, are there any other consequences when it comes to his businesses for him being now a convicted felon?
That's a good question. I looked into licensing in all of those jurisdictions as well for other professional licenses. He's got massage parlors and spas on some of his properties. I did not see anything I came across. I looked at the regulations I pulled his licenses, what I could find in all of those jurisdictions, and then looked at the laws for what's required of people who work in those professions. And nothing came up.
Zach Everson, per usual, thanks for the conversation. And when there's an update, I'm sure you'll be back on.
Thanks for having me on. Congratulations, Celtics.